Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out something I'm pretty surprised with myself for not already having covered on the show. Today we're going to be looking at Canabalt by developer Atom Atomic and also with music by Danny Baranowski, who you might know from such amazing games as Super Meat Boy and The Binding of Isaac. So what is Canabalt, just in case you might have missed it? It is one of the, if not the most influential runner game around, and runner being a subgenre of platforms, I suppose. I'm not sure if that's the official vernacular, but I'm going to go with that for now anyway. The premise is you are running from the left to the right. Things will be approaching you in various ways or just trying to trip you up in one way or another, and you need to be quick on the button, and in this case there is really only one button, and it is spacebar, and you can use that to jump over things, you can use it to jump between buildings, you can use that to jump through panes of glass, and we will be traversing a randomly generated environment as we proceed to, get as far as we can and try and get a high score. So the version I'm playing today is going to be a free browser version. There are actually two flavors, a standard and a high-definition version, both of which are free, but there are also some other versions you might be more familiar with. Maybe the mobile versions came out on Android and iOS at one point, and I think that's where this gained a lot of its prominence, but I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure that's where I first played it on my iPhone anyway. So let's jump into this, and pardon just in case it comes out a little bit choppy. For whatever reason, this game does not seem to record particularly well, so we're going to hope for the best. And in the event that it does not record particularly well, just close the video, go start up the game, play it yourself. It's not going to cost you anything, so no reason not to, just in case you haven't already. So here we go, let's start our daring escape. So we're going to be a little, I guess, suit-jacketed man running along the tops of buildings. It definitely evokes a bit of a feeling of like, Neo running away in the Matrix. The agents are chasing him. There's some sort of dystopian sci-fi environment. Everything is monochromatic gray, and I've already hit a wall and fallen to my death. So it's just like that. That's really all there is to do. The game does not have an incredible amount of depth, but it makes up for it in its incredible addictiveness, and basically the thing comes in little bite-sized chunks. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to run into some occasional air conditioner units, which are going to slow you down, but you'll try and learn from your mistakes, and you'll try and sight-read the levels a little bit faster next time, and hopefully make a little bit more progress. At least that's my goal. It's certainly a hard game. The beginning... Oh, I got lucky there. The beginning is usually, trying to just get past these little air conditioner units or desks or filing cabinets or what have you, and then eventually you will run into a point where you just smack into a pane of glass or miss the glass entirely and just, fall. So that has been my experience many of the times I've played Canabalt. It's almost always the panes of glass that kill me, but a lot of the time it can also be, when you make that transition into one of the buildings, you don't quite make it back out easily. And you may notice there's actually a pretty serious vibe of the Rapture chapter from Super Meat Boy in the Super Meat world as well, but that's only as a result from being in the actual game. So as you can tell, the environments are randomly generated. Like I said already, we'll be running across various building tops. There's occasionally girders. Sometimes the buildings will start to fall out from underneath you. Sometimes there will be some sort of a jet engine that'll land in your path, and probably more derivations as you get further in. I've never gotten particularly far in this game myself. I think my record is like something around 2,000 meters, which I think is not terrible. But I don't know how long you can really keep going, because eventually I find this game gets really hard to look at, just because the speed that things are moving at, it's like your eye can't quite keep up with the slightly imperfect frame rate, and maybe it's just when I've always played it, it's never been quite smooth enough, but it starts to get choppy in a way that's it's really hard to follow what's going on, and then eventually I lose touch with it, or I lose my concentration. But I have to give the developer props. A really beautiful, minimalistic art style to this game. I mean, it's got all the right details in all the right places. The foreground is just detailed enough. The background actually tells a bit of a story. There's these mechs walking around in the background that remind me a little bit of something out of Metal Gear. And maybe that's the story we're trying to be telling here, but I'm not sure. Apparently running into the jet engine just detonates you. We've also got some ships that are flying around, and I certainly feel like we're in some sort of a Blade Runner, something to that effect, running away from a dystopian government or something. I don't know. I'm sure that the gray and the drab sort of reinforces that to some degree, and maybe I'm telling the story in my own head, but the fact that there even is an implied story from something this simple, I find that pretty spectacular myself. So we're just going to keep trying and get a little bit better of a score. I got a little bit lucky there with hopping in between those two, whatever those objects were. I kind of wish that the difficulty curve on this was slowed down a little bit. Sometimes I would like for it to take a little bit longer so you can get a little bit more invested in your score before losing. But I guess on the other hand, maybe if you took too long, you know, you'd end up more frustrated. So in this case, you don't really feel particularly attached, which means you're just going to be more likely to start over again immediately. I'm sure the developer addressed this question. Oh, I lived. I wasn't expecting to live there. See, things are going really fast right now, and I think I might actually beat my record, at least the record that I remember having anyway. Yeah, I did, and then promptly just fell off the wall there for whatever reason. As I mentioned, of course, music being by Danny Baranowski had reasonably high expectations, I suppose, but I think they were warranted. I don't think I've ever heard the guy make anything bad as far as soundtracks. Well, I guess that is really all there is to be as far as. But yeah, really good music, definitely complements the experience, and I would love to have anything like this ever featured in my... If I ever made a game, I would love to have something like this going on in the background. Really does set the tone nicely. I also love all the birds and everything taking off. The little details, you know, they add up to become greater than the sum of its parts, I suppose. But I think the part of the charm of this game is you don't really need to overanalyze it. It's really just a visceral, reactionary type game. Oh, wow, that is a rough one. You really needed to be aware of how low that window was. But like I was saying, it's not the most deep game, but I think it's probably stronger for that fact. If you were to add too many layers on top of this, it could end up getting pretty convoluted. As it is right now, it is about the most distilled, pure form of what a runner game could be about, which is simply run and simply jump. That's it. You know, try and read your environment, do your best, and maybe set a high score or two. You know, it would be nice if something like this was on Steam, so you could have leaderboard support with your friends, you know, have a, you know, specific leaderboard list, but I guess in a way you could do that kind of thing on mobile as well, considering, you know, they have the Game Center or whatever they call it on the iOS. I don't play a ton of mobile games, but this is definitely one that I've spent some time with, and it really, I mean, as you can tell, just the fact that I haven't stopped yet, it pulls you in. You know, you keep trying over and over again, you think it's just easy enough that you'll get a little further each time. You know, simple to play, hard to master, and then you do one of those, and you just forget to look at where the window's coming up from. I can't really understand how you're supposed to be really, really good at this. I mean, it seems like one of those things like maybe Super Hexagon style where you just reinforce making positive movements based on, you know, how many times you're going to make this mistake. Eventually you learn, right? So whether you want to or not, muscle memory will start to take place. And reading this environment as best you can is just going to be a thing that happens automatically, perhaps. And I guess it's just also about how quickly you can adapt to that kind of speed. And sometimes I wonder if maybe it's better for you to hit some of those objects so you can actually manually slow yourself down, because occasionally you start going so fast that your jumps will actually cross the majority of the rooftops. Or you might just want to buy yourself a few moments of time to actually be able to collect your thoughts and not crash as much. But I am still doing my best here. Oh, that was too high. It's almost always that stupid window that gets me, seriously. Probably you guys as well. I also wonder about the aspect ratio of this game, too. I mean, I know it is designed to be widescreen, obviously, because you need to be able to look far ahead of you to see what's coming. But the way it's presented, I feel like a lot of the time the game goes by so fast, whether or not it was widescreen, I don't really feel like it would make a huge difference. You know, maybe counter that by allowing the player to move themselves back and forth in space, so you could become a little bit closer to the left or right, and maybe you could try and offset things that way. Regardless, I find that at this width, it just seems a little bit harder on your eyes, because you can't really concentrate on where your character is and what's on the other side of the screen at the same time. So again, maybe that's just me, and I'm not trying to be negative or harsh or anything. It's just you know, an opinion that I noticed that I was finding myself having a little trouble tracking both sides of the screen at the same time. Results in you kind of just, you know, jerking your eyes back and forth more than maybe you'd like. And I think it could end up leading to a headache eventually. Hey, look, I got a new record. And if you haven't noticed, it's probably just because I haven't had a Windows section come up in a while. Oh, well, there's one, and there I go. So I guess with that, we will wrap things up. You know, probably should go out on a high note, right? So we actually managed to last about 10 minutes here playing Canabalt. I highly recommend you play this if you haven't played it already. Likely chance is that you have played it. And I'm really just doing this because I like to archive some of the more influential and important indie games that are out there. Canabalt I would rank pretty high on the list. So do yourself a favor and play it if you haven't already. And if you have even, just go ahead and recommend it to a friend that might not have, or maybe somebody who's still getting, you know, into the indie industry or the indie circles and I try to keep a running list of, like, what those games are, and I think Canabalt, Super Meat Boy, Binding of Isaac, all pretty important games. So anyway, we will wrap things up at this point. Be sure to check out the link, totally free to play this, right in the description. Go ahead and try it out. Tell a friend and all of that. Feel free to check out my other social media links while you're there if you'd like. Facebook.com/IndieImpressions, my Twitter handle, all of that stuff, as well as my indie-impressions.com website, which is where you're going to find this and all the other episodes in the series, which are now over 500. You can sort them all, you can browse them by genre and different tagging conventions, so whatever's easier for you to make sure that you find what you need to be looking for over there. If you have a particular genre in mind or a favorite type of game, it should make it a little bit easier, hopefully, to find, if you're interested anyway, my opinion on that game. And of course, if you're wondering, did I ever play X game on the series? Quickest way to find out, just head on over to the site, type it into the search box, and you will find out right then and there. Should simplify questions, because that does come up occasionally. But with that, I guess we will be off for the day, so please be sure to leave any support that you can, or any that you think I deserve. Likes and comments are always appreciated. I'd love to know what you think about this game. Have you had some particularly good scores you want to let me know about? Maybe you have an idea for an improvement. What would you do to change up this formula? And I guess mention some of your other favorite runner games would be cool as well. But yeah, any likes are always welcome if you think I deserve them. And be sure to come back again tomorrow, because new episodes are every single day without fail. So I will be back here, and I hope to see you back as well. So with that, I will be off, and I hope you have a lovely night. Talk to you later, guys.